So Leila, I was so struck by your unique family history and also just your spirit of adventure. You know, when I was reading her chapter, I think by the age of 21, you had, first of all, she had gone off to Ghana when you were, what, 17 or 18 years old? Teaching the blind without knowing how to read Braille or having a lesson plan.
It's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, exactly. And you went to Rwanda, Brazil, India. You have this, you know, immense appetite for experience. So I want to know, how have those experiences really transformed you and brought you to your work?
Sure, and again, thank you all for being here, and Jill for writing the book and for battling Hurricane Sandy to get here and still making it earlier than me. So I grew up in San Pedro, which is a suburb of LA south of here, and I actually got my start doing local community activism. I'm so inspired to hear your story, Susanna, because there's so much to do here at home. There really is. And I got involved in international development work because I got a really random scholarship when I was in high school from a tobacco company. The Lorillard, true story, the Lorillard Tobacco Company gave me $10,000 to apply to college, and I felt really weird about using money from big tobacco to enrich myself and to go to some fancy school. So I also wanted to get out of Los Angeles and have an adventure. And my parents had told me a lot about living in a very poor developing country. They both grew up in India. And so I thought, why don't I use this money to go and volunteer somewhere and understand what poverty is like in another part of the world? So I found this program online to go and teach in Ghana. I really didn't know much about West Africa at the time. It was the year 2000. This is a country that makes, on average, people make about $2 a day. And I showed up there not knowing anything, thinking maybe I'd help some poor African kids learn English and do better. And I showed up there and I really got educated by my students. I had 60 students, middle school age students, who were incredibly bright. They had grown up on $2 a day, and just to make you aware of the statistic, when we hear $2 a day, we think, oh, well, that probably buys a lot in a place like Ghana. That's already adjusted for buying power. Those are 2005 US dollars. There are 4 billion people on our planet who survive on less than $3 a day. I get emotional thinking about it because it's hard to imagine that we've mapped the human genome, we've put a man on the moon, we've ended apartheid, and yet this is still the reality for 4 billion human beings. And living in this village on a daily basis, I got angrier and angrier because I saw so much human potential that was going to waste. And the basic message we had for a lot of people in places like Ghana was, well, if you're lucky, you'll get a handout from some international aid institution, but we're never really going to believe in you. And we certainly don't think you have the capacity to do much more than receive a handout. And yet I saw in my students so much potential. I became curious then about how to use work to transform poverty, how to figure out a way to create better jobs in places like Ghana, and then later I traveled to many other parts of the world in the course of my studies, and that was really what inspired Samasource. And just to give people some clarity on what we do, we basically outsource work from big technology companies, work that would normally go to private, for-profit outsourcing companies in places like India and the Philippines, but we route it to low-income women and youth that we've trained in slums and villages around the world to do the work on a task-by-task basis. So we call it micro work, and we think that it could be for the outsourcing sector what microfinance was for the banking sector, a new way to engage the poor in this kind of work.